I've always wondered what's on the other side of this gate. Today, I'll find out. Pate fixed up 3 bikes instead of 1. These bikes were used by messengers a long, long time ago.
This is a visually pretty game. It's got its own artistic style, but it is very lovely. The title screen. See what looked like a subway down there. Got a car. Oh. A minute to look. Oop. Not in their head, though. She doesn't want to ride in here. There she goes.
From the village, these cranes look like little creatures, grazing. I had no idea how huge they are.
I feel like I'm walking tipsy on the edge of the earth. We're skipping from island to island, away the way a stone skips along the surface of the water, leaving little ripples, like a kiss or two. Oh, I don't know. I just miss you today, and today, and today. XOXO, you know who. Tiang Valley? Hey, guess where I am? Hope you looked at this side first. I had to pay my respects to the birthplace of Monjaz. There's a lot of tourists, but also a weird feeling to the place. It would take me more than a postcard to explain. Take care. Don't bother trying to visit the Caro village. It simply isn't that kind of location. This village was very hard to find, but if you really need it, somehow you make it your way there. Oh, I just wanted to let you know that I am staying here for good. This season can only meet a violent end. It's too bright, too cheery. Stay safe.
I can see in these letters that the outside world has extremes of beauty and tragedy beyond anything I've known. The irony of Caro is that it's a closed-off place on the outskirts of a busy trading hub. A postal hub we hardly used is practically on our doorstep.
Birds have made nests out of the papers.
Traders used to come to the outskirts of the village. The war put an end to this.
Please get this letter to Dr. Fumio. I am suffering from memory excess but cannot travel to the village for treatment. I was praying you could instruct me by mail how to cure myself of this disease. I am unable to forget, and now I realize how important it is to gain open space in the mind. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to forget. Please get this letter to Dr. Fumio.
Before setting up in Caro village, Dr. Fumio roamed the land curing people. It must have been hard when he wasn't around anymore, especially for people who couldn't travel to the village.
Dear Coriolis? What's that? Cornelius. Dear Cornelius, I thought it was... Dear Cornelius, I thought it over, and I have to tell you, the name you picked for your baby, it is terrible. Please do not go forward with it. I pray this letter reaches you in time. Here's Dorino.
That poor baby.
I think I read everything. Oh. Dear Esdell, I'll be surprised if this letter reaches you. The war has become like a deranged sleeper thrashing in bed, eyes closed tight. I've noticed how the soldiers strip people of their clothes first, a smaller degradation, which permits everything that follows. I wish I had loved you more completely when the world allowed it. Love, Odell.
They were right. The letter never made it. The season before this one, the war, seems so horrible.
Getting it.
I heard at some point the tides got less predictable. Places flooded that never had before. I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm going to guess none of it matters because she's not saying anything, so any of the sounds I'm recording really has no impact.
We learned about old technology in school, but not much about animals. What are these strange goat-like creatures? Are they simply goats?
That would be a goat. Oh, wait.
My first time petting an animal. I think it went pretty well.
He's the slow burn of a game, that's for sure, but not in a bad way. Quite a few of these walking simulator type games are always slow to tell their story.
I cycled through landscapes, seeing them for the first and last time. I had no idea when I left my home how the season would end, or more importantly, how soon.
The end of it, was it?
On a cold, damp day, I feel true loneliness for the first time. Nobody could have described with words how big this world is, how it goes and goes. I passed through it, where others passed before me.
I thought I almost changed the season by changing the landscape. Read the rest of it. There's no other sneaky way to get in. There is a sneaky way to get in. I thought I might change the season by changing the landscape. Cut these down like trees. But it's not how a season changes.
This person wanted the season to change. Why?
Oh, apparently there's quite a few ways into that fenced area. And I was acting like the front door was the only way. The highway.
They wanted the season to change because they were so alone.
The game does have some loading issues.
One melody is like me out here alone. I can't really live like this.
One voice, one tune, alone in the wilderness, can't last long. Two voices, a melody, and a harmony is enough to survive a little while. Three voices, a community, a song, can last a whole season.
They kept themselves company with music. Two voices is like me and my mom. We can survive, but eventually you need more. Three voices is complex as life is supposed to be. I could listen forever. They used the walls like I use my journal.
If the sound suddenly cuts off, like you can see that she's talking, but you're not hearing anything, I'm so sorry. I had to cut off all sound because YouTube didn't like it. I met a driver from a group that's building community. I'm leaving with him. Goodbye to this lonesome place. Goodbye to this lonesome season.
Looks like they made it out of here. But what is this group?
I like using the controller to move around, but it has to be the mouse for the scrapbook.
In the empty places, I found companionship in the tapes I recorded before leaving home. The elder told me the story of her life. I listened back to it, ready to note down anything that seemed important.
Let's set the scene for the listener, whoever that might be. This is the elder speaking. We're sitting in the plaza, saying goodbye to a dear soul. We're here to see if there's anything useful in my mind that could help you on your trip. A century's worth of memories, dreams, fantasies, visions. Like a big, old, haunted library. When I die, this library will burn down. But which book should we check out first? I don't have all the answers, but I do feel the story of my life could help you understand what kind of world is out there.
Do you have any other advice for my trip?
It's okay not to understand everything right away. The moment may pass before you've gotten a firm hold on it. But as long as you're there to witness it, to take it down in your journal, you and others to come will someday take the time to make sense of it all.
How did you become the elder?
First, I got old. That's an important step. Being an elder is all about how you react to strange events. The key is not to be surprised, but kind of frown, look serious, and say something like, "It begins." Never say, "I don't know." Say, "We dive into a pool of uncertainty."
Where were you born?
I was born on the ocean. My mother and father worked on a cruise ship, the short-lived but glorious watery republics, floating cities. Most won their independence by the time I was born. How can I describe them? They were a jewel of the golden season. Pleasure boats with a radical political program. How nice. The golden age was a time of flags, logos, mottos, mastheads. My mom taught me to read them. She was the ship's philosopher. My dad was a recycling engineer. Recycling on the ship was a matter of life and death. We had to get the most out of every object and watt of energy.
Where did your family come from?
My grandparents played with the past. They changed it like we change our wardrobe. So it was a different answer every time. But they often said we were exiles of some kind. Exiled royalty from a secret lineage. Blood that glows in the dark. Or we're exiled from the mouth of some great leviathan. When they were older, they just said, "We're from here. We're from right now."
What was it like growing up there?
I loved the way the ship would tilt and roll with the waves, especially as I fell asleep. It was so comforting. Picture me as a kid in bed, feeling the swaying of the ship. It was like being rocked to sleep as a baby. I loved exploring the ship too, wandering through the suites, the swimming pool, the game rooms, and oh, there were 2 dance halls. A large, elegant one and another one in the basement. A lot of my firsts were down there. My first dance, my first kiss, and so forth.
When did you leave the ship?
Our ship was taken over in the early days of the war. That was the end of the watery republics. I heard the dance hall in the basement became a weapons cache. It took me half my life to say goodbye to the world I knew in my youth. Imagine me and my parents and everyone I knew being escorted off the ship by a company of soldiers. And I'm thinking, I hope they don't make a mess of my room. I was embarrassed by the younger kids who were crying their eyes out, but they knew, I guess.
Was that the end of the season?
Yes, the start of the war was a turning of seasons. And we had been warned the season was going to end. Oh, but we didn't understand the warning. You see, one night, along a coastline, we saw beautiful lights shimmering above the water. Later, we found out this was an ancient warning system. It hadn't been used in so long. We didn't know what it meant. We just thought, well, ain't that pretty? We tried to stick together and camped out on the coast of the prismatic grounds.
What did your parents think?
She saw the meaning of things shifting. It disturbed her greatly. He saw war as a process of turning life, resources, energy, the potential energy in every human soul into waste, turning human eyes and hands that could paint a landscape into a field of ashes. Are you sure you want me to keep going? The story gets darker from here on.
Yes, so let's keep going.
Okay, so conditions in the camp were getting worse. My mom got lost in thought for long periods of time. She'd be completely still for hours, days even. We realized she caught, well, now we call it time misperception disorder. It's when you lose your ability to tell how much time is passing. A minute can feel like an hour. A day can pass in 10 seconds.
How did she catch it?
We don't know exactly. Our consciousness is delicate. There are minerals and sounds that can adjust it. Dr. Fumio's greatest fear was that someone would use this as a weapon. We heard about a traveling doctor who could cure these kinds of diseases. I decided to go find him. I found out his name was Dr. Fumio, and he traveled with his son Lucio. People talked about him like he was a god.
I don't know what to ask. What was going on with the war?
The prismatic grounds had roped almost everyone into their system until they reached the far wastes and heard no for the first time. Nobody reacted well. It got to the point of, neighborhood against neighborhood. Grievances had been buried so deeply we forgot they were there. It felt like things changed overnight. I'd pass through a city and hear later that they'd torn each other apart. I could not imagine it.
What happened when you found them?
I described my mom's condition to Dr. Fumio. He said there was no cure yet, but there was a village high in the mountains. He thought it was high enough he'd have a better chance at treatment. Lower places are more dangerous. Valleys are the worst. He invited me to join them in going to the village, but I wanted to go back and get my parents and bring them with me.
What happened next?
I packed my things and got ready to leave the next morning. That night, my mom came to me in a dream. She was standing in a field of flowers. I'd grown since I last saw her. We were the same height. She pressed a finger hard into my palm. She taught me well. I knew the meaning of the gesture. I knew no matter what I did, I'd never see my parents again. In the morning, I told Dr. Fumio I would follow him to Caro village. The next few weeks were very physically tiring, hiking, climbing. And when we found the village, building, planting, cleaning, Fumio brought sick people from all over the world, and they got better. The treatments worked. Everyone was healing. So why couldn't I? One day, we got word the war was over. We never found out how it ended. It was like peace just swept over the earth in a split second. There was a party in the plaza to celebrate the end of the war, but I couldn't bring myself to go. Yes, it was over, but it had taken my home, my family. That night, as I was falling asleep, I felt the bed tilt and sway gently, as if it was being tossed on the waves of the ocean, as if I was back in my bedroom on the ship, as if I was back in my mother's arms, being rocked gently to sleep. I knew I was finally home, and nothing could hurt me.
I imagine coming upon a place as hidden and singular as my own village. Eventually, I found myself circling a valley, looking for a way in.
All right, in the next episode, we'll explore this area. Thank you for keeping me company.